Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News's post-match live analysis, where we're gonna be discussing Barcelona's match against Athletic Club de Bilbao at Montjuic, where Barcelona just pulled off a very difficult victory, 1-0, with a goal of their debutant player, Marc Guiu. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo and this is Barca News's post-match live analysis, which is after every Barcelona match ends. And today football was officially back as the FIFA international break is over and Barcelona played against Athletic Club de Bilbao at home in the Olympic Stadium in Montjuic, where Barcelona pulled off an extremely difficult victory, 1-0. But it was a very much needed victory because Real Madrid drew yesterday against Sevilla 1-1, dropping points. So Barcelona needed to win this match in order to catch up to Real Madrid. And of course, in preparation for that El Clásico match, which is scheduled to be played next week on Saturday against Real Madrid, also at home at Olympic Stadium of Montjuic. Now, Real Madrid were 3 points ahead of Barcelona. When they drew, they dropped 2 points. And now with Barcelona's victory, Barcelona is 1 point behind Real Madrid. So if we win El Clásico match, then Barcelona will be able to pull ahead of Real Madrid. Now, this was not an easy match. It was a difficult match for Barcelona, as it usually is when we play against Athletic Club de Bilbao, especially under Ernesto Valverde, where Athletic Club de Bilbao have had a really good start to the season. So it was already expected to be a difficult match, and this match did not disappoint because it was a very entertaining match with lots of back and forth, and with both teams playing pretty evenly. I don't think there was any certain moment where I said, "Oh, Barcelona are definitely superior," or Athletic Club are definitely superior. Pretty even match. Very well fought by both sides, and thankfully Barcelona were able to pull this victory and take home those very 3 important points. Now, Barcelona during the first half started maybe the first 15 minutes playing well, circulating the ball pretty well. They created a few chances, but I think as the first half began to continue to go on, I think that's when we lost a little bit the control of the match, and Athletic Club de Bilbao generated a lot more chances than Barcelona did. They were very close to scoring a few chances, but of course, thanks to our amazing goalkeeper, Marc ter Stegen, we were able to go to the halftime 0-0 or 0-0. And then in the second half, I don't know what happened during the break, but Barcelona looked much better than Athletic Club de Bilbao. They were moving the ball much faster, circulating the ball much better, and then creating a lot more chances, which eventually culminated in Marc Guiu's goal. Now, not the best performance of Barcelona, but it was not a bad one either. Now, I always complain during these live streams about how Barcelona are lacking the circulation of the ball, where they're very slow moving the ball, where they only make horizontal passes rather than vertical passes, where they always pass to players whose back is against the opposing goal. This time, I did see an improvement as far as the circulation of the ball. It was much faster than previous matches. There were a lot more vertical passes rather than horizontal passes. There were a lot more faster passes than usually before. And the most important thing, the team were passing the ball to players who were running towards the opposing goal rather than having their back towards the opposing goal. So much better in that aspect. Barcelona much better in moving and circulating the ball. Again, not the optimal level. I'm not saying this was perfect and I was in complete awe, but it is an improvement and it is a step in the right direction. Now, this should be, in my opinion, the way Barcelona played today, this should be the minimum standard for the team. I think, again, not the best performance, but much better than before. And of course, you can't always ask of the team to play like they played against Real Betis or against Anderlecht total domination, scoring 4 or 5 goals. That's just unrealistic to ask for a team to do that every single match. But in the matches where Barcelona are off or where they're not having a good match, I think this should be the minimal standard, what we saw today. Because even though, again, was not a great performance, it was still good enough. It created enough chances. It allowed us to score a goal, and it was much, much better than the previous matches where it was an absolute disaster. So overall, an okay performance by the team. Very important victory. 3 important points that puts us 1 point behind Real Madrid. And Barcelona will now look to our next match, which is the Champions League match against Shakhtar Donetsk. And of course, followed by El Clásico match, which will give us a chance to pull ahead of our arch rivals, Real Madrid. Now, let's get to the chat section. Let's see what you guys are talking about. And then we'll answer a few questions, get a discussion going, and then we'll talk about the lineup. And then after that, we'll talk about the players individually. And finally, we'll talk about the refereeing, because a lot of questions raised because of today's refereeing. But anyways. All right, let's see. Blaurana Kule says, Marc Guiu, the hero. Honestly, though, an underwhelming performance as a whole. We looked like we had no chemistry at all most of the match. This better be fixed by next weekend or we are in trouble. I don't agree 100%. Again, as I said, not the greatest performance, but I don't want to say that that was completely underwhelming. If I would give it a score, I think it was maybe a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. Much, much better than the last few matches before the international break. So I don't want to say that was completely bad or underwhelming performance. Richard says, Vizca Barça never underestimate the heart of a champion. 5 key players out, and our team finds a way to win. La Masia is a house that keeps producing gems. Not pretty, but will this key win? We'll take this key win. Maybe that's what you're trying to say. Vamos. Agree. Again, not the best of performance, but the team did its job in the second half. We were able to create chances. And finally, we were able to pull that win off. Nanima says, Araujo, reckless challenges gives me a mini heart attack every time. The guy doesn't care if he dies. Yes, Araujo, just like Gavi, goes all in. It's just how these players are made. Which, I can't really, besides saying that they should be a little bit more careful, I can't really say anything bad, because that just shows that their heart and the fight in them and how they like, to give it all to the team, which we do need more of that in some players. Now, let's talk about the lineup, because given the injuries, Xabi did have to get a little bit creative with the lineup, if you may, because many of our key players were missing. And this was today's lineup with Marc ter Stegen in goal. Of course, Joao Cancelo and Alejandro Valde as fullbacks. We saw Íñigo Martínez getting a start against his former team, Athletic Club de Bilbao, right along Andreas Christensen. Oriol Romeo as the single pivot, and then Gabi and Gundogan as the interiors. And in the front, we saw Joao Felix as that false 9, surrounded by Ferran Torres on the right and Fermin Lopez on the left. Now, I must say that, again, even though I do think that there was an improvement as far as the circulation of the ball, we're still lacking in the defense. We saw that in a couple of occasions in the first half. I always say that one of the greatest indications when it comes to how well your defense performed is looking at the yellow cards. Because you can be winning by several goals, but if you have a lot of yellow cards, it means that there's something going on with your defense. And I think today was a great example of that, because there was a couple of plays where Athletic Club de Bilbao could have easily scored, and Gabi in one play and then Oriol Romeo in the second play had to foul the attacking players from Athletic Club de Bilbao, receiving a yellow card each, because had they not done that, Athletic Club de Bilbao could have scored. So I always say yellow cards are a great indication of how good your defense is playing. And today we saw those same mistakes or those same defensive weaknesses that we've seen in the previous matches in today's match. And I think a big issue is the right flank. I think Joao Cancelo is an excellent right back when it comes to attack. I think he gives Barcelona something that we've been lacking for many, many years, but he also leaves a little bit of a weakness on that side. And that's a weakness that Ernesto Valverde noticed. And if you notice, a lot of the attacks came from that side. And Ernesto Valverde exploited that weakness and came on several occasions close to scoring goals. But again, thanks to our German wall, Marc ter Stegen, we were able to prevent Athletic Club de Bilbao from scoring. So I think this is something we need to look at. We need to figure out how to fix that defensive weakness, if you may, on the right flank, because teams are starting to notice that and they're starting to exploit that. Now, as far as individual performances, if we go back to the lineup, I think Íñigo Martínez was absolutely impressive, very, very impressive. I was very satisfied with the performance, with his performance. Honestly, it was expected because Íñigo Martínez is easily the top 5 center back in La Liga. Of course, he hasn't had much playing time, and the very few playing time that he's had in the past didn't do necessarily great, but that was expected. He had just come back from an injury. Also, it's a brand new team. You still have to adapt. But today we saw that performance by Íñigo Martínez that I knew he was capable of, because this guy was an absolute wall, completely intercepting any passes that came through his area, decisive tackles, and most importantly, he's a very incredibly fast center back. I already knew he was a great center back, defensively speaking, with his tackles. He's, your traditional center back, kind of like a Carlos Puyol. But his speed really surprised me. There was a couple of plays where he ran almost the entire width of the field, making it right on time against much younger players. There was even one play against Nico Williams, and I was very, very surprised by his speed, but not surprised by his performance because, as I've said before, Íñigo Martínez has always been a top 5 center back, quality center back, and today we saw that. Now, another player that I would like to talk about is Ferran Torres, because I mentioned this in the previous post-match live analysis when Ferran Torres started also. I think, what was the last match that we played? It was Granada. And I said, I think Ferran Torres, despite his much improved performance this season, he's definitely not a starter. I think he's a great player that can come off the bench the last 20, 30 minutes, score a goal. If you need him to draw a match or to win a match, I think he's capable of doing that. But as far as starting, I don't know if Ferran Torres has what it takes to be a starter. And the reason I say that is because I've noticed that Ferran Torres, as time passes by, he kind of disconnects from the match. Now, during the first half, Ferran Torres was doing well. I mean, he didn't have much chances. I think he only had one shot. He couldn't really finish the chances that he had. But as far as one-on-ones, he pretty much won every duel that he had during the first half. But then during the second half, as the time continued to pass on, we started seeing him getting disconnected, losing concentration. And that's, I think, why Ferran Torres could not be a starter. Or if he is going to be a starter, it's someone that you need to sub off. I think he's a much better player coming off the bench because, again, as the time passes by and as the match continues to, or as the clock continues to roll, I start to notice that Ferran Torres starts to disconnect, starts to lose concentration, starts to make silly mistakes, not reading runs too well, not taking off at the right time or taking off too early and ending up in offsides. So I think that's something that we need to look into. Of course, Ferran Torres had to start today, with all of our injuries, but I think he's a much better player to come off the bench rather to be a starter. Now, let's get back to the chat section. We'll continue talking about players. I don't want to keep talking forever. I want to give you guys a chance to voice your opinions, to ask any questions, and then we'll continue talking more about the players. But let's see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Jesus is King says, somebody tell me when Pedri's coming back. Pedri always don't come back from injury at expected time. Yes, you do have a good point there. I think we've seen that a lot in the previous season. Pedri, he gets injured. We think it's something simple, and he's gonna, they tell you 2 weeks, and he ends up taking 2 months or something. I do agree with that, but they're saying that he could be back by a Clásico match, but not as a starter, more like a substitute that could come off during the second half, maybe the last 20, 30 minutes. That's what they're saying right now. We'll see, of course. As we get closer to the Clásico match, we'll know more because we'll know how the players feeling, etc. But for now, they're saying second half of the Clásico match against Real Madrid, which is next Saturday, October 28th. Winston says, Iñigo Martinez was surprisingly good today. No nonsense back passes from him, and the good and goal started with him. Yes, very good. Again, not surprising. I don't think it was surprising at all. Iñigo Martinez has always been top 5 center backs in La Liga, so I'm not surprised at all. But I am delighted to finally see him getting like situated, feeling more comfortable with Barcelona. Because again, whenever a player switches team, it always takes some time to adjust. All right, Mark says, be honest. That performance was horrible. We cannot pull up at the Clásico playing like that. I am being honest. It was not horrible. It was not a great performance, but it was not a horrible performance. Much, much better than the previous matches. Big improvement on the last few matches before the international break. So no, it was not a horrible performance. Again, not a great one, but not horrible either. Okay, let's see what else. Nima says, guys, remember this long ball side swift only works against teams that can do overload side tactics. Good point. I agree. And one more, and then we'll get back to the analysis. And says, yo, Seb says, what happened to the Gundogan that won the treble with Man City? He's been looking bang on average here at Barca so far. Absolutely not. If you think Gundogan has been average at Barcelona, I don't think you're watching him close. He has been the orchestra director in the midfield. If you look closely, most balls go through him. He's the one who distributes the ball. He's the one who sets the pace for the attack. Not bang average at all. Doing a great job in the midfield. But when you do the job that Gundogan does, it usually goes unnoticed. Kind of like, and I'm not comparing them, but kind of like when Busquets, Busquets used to be kind of like the guy who set the tempo and the pace for the whole team, but most of the time people didn't notice because when you do that job, it's not really noticeable. Most people just notice the easy stuff, like who scored, who assisted, right? That's easy to notice. But when you have someone in the midfield setting the tempo of the match, directing the plays, distributing the ball, that's a lot harder to notice. And Gundogan has been doing an excellent job. Far, far from average. Far, far, far from average. All right, let's get back and let's talk about a few more players, especially this guy who, in my opinion, undoubtedly the MVP of the match, Joao Felix, who had an incredible performance today. And yes, he's had great performances in the past, but in my opinion, today was his best performance yet. He totally took charge of the attack of Barcelona's attack. And he was doing everything. I mean, winning duels one-on-one, dribbling past defenders, creating chances. He assisted Marc Guiu, crosses into the box, distributing the ball, combining well with his teammates, you name it. And then he was still making back runs to help with the defense, completely doing it all. Excellent performance by Joao Felix. 10 out of 10. Undoubtedly the MVP of the match and his best performance yet. Now, I must say, I think Joao Felix really has to play on the left wing. I think that is his best position because when he started, he was playing the first half, he was playing in that false 9 position. I'm not saying he did bad. He didn't. He was doing well there. But as soon as he switched to the left wing, we completely saw an improvement in his performance. He was already playing well, but we saw a huge improvement, and I think he really, really has to play on the left wing. I think he does much better when he plays in that position, much closer to the side of the field. I think he causes a lot of danger when he makes those interior cuts versus being already in the middle. But incredible performance by Joao Felix, who again assisted Marc Guiu in the match's only goal. Now, I do want to touch on something real quick because last season I criticized Rafinha a lot. Said, that as someone who we paid 60 million euros for, who we signed, kind of like the star of Barcelona, he wasn't, to me, good enough because he wasn't a difference maker. But yeah, people would always defend him because they're like, oh, he saved Barcelona. I don't know where people got that from, but people still say it till today. He saved Barcelona. I don't even know what the hell that means. But anyways, they kept saying, oh, no, Rafinha's great. You're being unfair. And I said, no, because he's not a difference maker. And if you don't know what a difference maker is, ladies and gentlemen, look at your screen, because that's what Joao Felix was today. Joao Felix was a total difference maker. Whenever he touched the ball, the entire stadium would pause because we knew something crazy was about to happen. Whenever he touched the ball, Athletic Club de Bilbao's defenders shook in their boots because they knew something was about to happen. And that's what a difference maker looks like. And that is not Rafinha. When Rafinha gets the ball, at no moment you think, oh my God, this guy's about to do something amazing, because we all know what he does. He stops, makes a back pass, or sends a cross into the box. And I just wanted to highlight that because a lot of people didn't seem to understand what I meant by difference maker. They kept bringing up, oh, well, he scored 10 goals. Yeah, so did Ansu Fati. It doesn't mean much. But absolute amazing performance by Joao Felix. Don't want to take anything away from him by talking about Rafinha, but just wanted to make that comparison. And again, we do have to talk about this guy. What a debut. Marc Guiu, 17 years old. First debut with Barcelona. First touch that he gets, and he scores a goal. Talk about dream come true. I mean, who doesn't dream of this when they're in the academy, not only to debut with the first team, but to also score your first goal? And he did both within seconds. Debuted, first touch, scores a goal. Incredible, incredible night for Marc Guiu. And I think we have, I mean, it's too early to tell. Of course, he only played like 20 minutes, but I think we could have a possible solution for Lewandowski's lack of substitutes, because Marc Guiu is a center forward, is someone who could play in that position. And I think his speed, his physicalness in that run that he made when he scored the goal, very, very impressive. And let's not forget, this is not a Barca Athletic player. This is actually a juvenil A player. So a under 19 player. He just debuted with Barca Athletic not too long ago. He debuts with the first team and scores a goal. And this just goes to show that, ladies and gentlemen, La Masia is still alive. La Masia is still producing talent. People said after the golden generation of Barcelona with Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, etc., people said that's it. We're never going to see anything else from La Masia. But La Masia telling everyone, hold on, I still got a few cards up my sleeves, whether it's Gavi, Lamine, Fermin, Marc Guiu. We have a huge class of youngsters who are ready to come up to the first team and do some serious damage, because Marc Guiu is not the only great player that we have in our academy. We also have Pau Victor. Of course, Pau Victor is not really an academy product, but he is playing there. We have other players like Pau Cubarsi. The list goes on. But ladies and gentlemen, what a night for Marc Guiu, scoring his first goal on his first debut. Really, really amazing, which again, like I said, just goes to show that La Masia is alive, that La Masia is still producing talent. And I think that's not going to sit well with Madridismo, but that's okay. That's okay. So let's get back to the chat section. We'll do a few more comments, and then we'll end today's live stream talking a little bit about the refereeing. You know, I don't like to talk about refereeing too much because, like I've always said, if the team does its job, then the referee really doesn't matter. But today's refereeing was really, really odd. Anyways, let's go back. Musa says, hi, Mo. What are the possibility of Lewandowski play in El Clasico? So far, they're saying that he will be back by then. Those are initial reports. We'll know more again as the days go by. I'm pretty sure we'll know by Wednesday, because usually they'll do more extensive tests before matches to see if players are ready for those matches or not. So I think before Wednesday, when we play that Champions League match against Shakhtar Donetsk, I'm sure they'll do some extensive test on Lewandowski, and we'll know more. But for now, they're saying that, yes, he could come back by El Clasico match. Frankie and Kunde will not, that's for sure. Rafinha is a doubt, most likely not, but he could come back on time. But we'll see what happens with Lewandowski. Okay, let's see what else. Akeem says, wish Xabi can start Marc Guiu against Madrid because I can see he's a fighter and he kept running through the remaining minutes. A new star is born today. Look, incredible debut. Was very happy to see him score. But let's not start talking about him starting because he only played 20 minutes. Let's calm down. Yes, he should continue practicing with the first team. He should get more playing time. But to have a guy who has only played for 20 minutes his whole life with the first team start against Real Madrid in El Clásico, we have to be a little bit more realistic. All right, let's see. Klaus says, big up, Mo. What's up, Klaus? Good to see you in the comment section. Winston says, Joao Felix really deserved a goal, MVP of the match. 100% agree. He really did deserve his goal. Incredible performance by Joao Felix. And I wish he would have gotten it. I mean, he hit the post. He hit the post once, and I think he had 2 shots blocked by the goalie. I really, really wish that, he would have gotten his goal. He really, really deserved it. Which goes to show, again, that performance is more than just numbers. People are always like, oh, well, he has this many goals. He has many assists. Performance is a lot more than just that. That's just half of the equation, right? There's quantitative and there's qualitative analysis, right? Quantitative is just the numbers, how many goals and assists a player has, versus qualitative is, what kind of difference a player makes. And, today's performance was a perfect example that how important qualitative analysis is as well. Because honestly, if you look at Joao Felix, he's only scored 1 goal in La Liga. So if you only go by that number, you would think, oh, well, Joao Felix sucks, right? He only has 1 goal. But then you watch him in matches and he's an absolute amazing, right? So again, to go back to the Rafinha thing, everybody kept saying, well, he scored 10 goals. He scored 10 goals. Again, there's more to a performance of the player than just how many goals he scores. Okay, let's see. Let's see what else. Pate says, I think Marc Bernal in Barca Athletic is the next big thing. Yep, another great player. Again, there's a huge class of amazing players in the academy who will be coming up pretty soon to the first team or maybe in the next few seasons. But we definitely have an incredible lineup of young talent ready to be used on the first team. But anyways, let's get back to analysis. I'll just want to talk real quick about the refereeing, and then we'll end this live stream because don't forget there is a news video that will come up in a few hours. So this is just a post-match live stream or the post-match live analysis. So there will be a news video later on. Okay, so let's talk about the refereeing because very odd refereeing today. I think what the referee was trying to do was kind of like let the game flow and not do as much interruptions, which usually I appreciate that. I appreciate when refs want to, keep the flow of the match going and not interrupt it so much with every little foul. But I think in this case, the referee went way too far because there were really clear fouls on both sides, by the way, more on Athletic Club de Bilbao side, but on both sides where he should have definitely made a call, but he just let it go. And I really think, and I don't know, some people might say I'm just looking for excuses or I'm being biased, but the first foul on Joao Felix in the penalty box, that was definitely a penalty. I mean, Athletic Club de Bilbao's defender takes him down without the ball. He's not even looking at the ball, not even close to the ball. Like completely forgets about the ball and just goes directly at Joao Felix and takes him down. And yet the referee does not call anything, doesn't even listen to whether whether they're checking it or not checking it. Absolutely nothing, just completely ignores it. And he continued to do that all throughout the match to the point where Joao Felix got really pissed because Joao Felix was getting fouled a lot. And some of those fouls were pretty serious and that the referee can let it continue to happen, which again, I understand what he was trying to do. He was trying to not interrupt the match as much, but he completely went to the extreme. We have either referees who interrupt the match every 30 seconds, like we saw against Getafe, or we have this guy who just lets anything happen, which I didn't understand what was going on. Horrible refereeing, but I think at this point, this is just your normal day in La Liga because this refereeing is honestly getting out of hand. It's completely mediocre. I don't know if it's also the pressure of Real Madrid TV with their constant campaigns and documentaries blaming, referees for their losses, saying referees favor Barcelona. I don't know if this is playing its part as well, with this referee being scared to call things in favor of Barcelona because he might be perceived as, as a corrupt referee, as someone that's been bribed by Nereida. But horrible refereeing. But thankfully, it did not affect us in a negative way. And thankfully, we were able again to pull this victory. 3 important points, and again, Champions League match on Wednesday against Shakhtar Donetsk. I will be working from home, so there will be a post-match live analysis. And of course, the next weekend, the big match, El Clásico match against Real Madrid. So that is it, guys. That's pretty much everything I wanted to discuss as far as the match analysis. Let's do a few more comments, and then we'll end the live stream because, again, I do have to go and make the news video for tonight, which honestly I haven't even started planning it, so I don't even know what I'm going to be talking about, but I guess we'll find out. We'll find out tonight. I'm going to find out as much as you guys. Okay, let's see. Where did we leave off? Milijan, can you explain the rule in La Liga that limits the amount of non-European players? Let me see. On top of my head, I think you're allowed 2 or 3 spots for non-European players, if I'm not mistaken. But I can't remember exactly. It's either 2 or 3 non-European players. Could be wrong, but I'll just have to look it up. I don't know it by heart. But why do you ask? Just out of curiosity. Okay, and I can't read that name. But he says the Burgos Bengochea had a masterclass yesterday in the Madrid game, to be honest. And the fact that Madrid drew against Sevilla, I'm afraid that maybe the Burgos Bengochea is not going to ref again, because the referee that ref the match between Real Madrid and Atletico de Madrid, where Madrid lost 3-1, hasn't refed a single match ever since, because Real Madrid blamed him, even though analysts have said that that was an incredible performance by the referee, European level performance. But yeah, he hasn't refed a single match because. But they say this is, Negreida's league, right? They say we're the one who bribes referees. But here we have it. A referee who hasn't refed a single match because he was the referee in the match where Real Madrid lost. Absolutely incredible. Okay, let's see one more, and then we will end today. Live stream Spongiseni. Did I say that right? Says Joao Felix is making himself a key player the way he is performing. Absolutely, and I think that's an important indication of how important it is, or a great indication of how important it is that players feel comfortable and happy in where they are. It's not just your skills, but it's also your mental state. Because Joao Felix, he's explained it many times, he's very happy to be in Barcelona, and then we're seeing it. We're seeing it on the field. We're seeing how he's performing. And, that's the difference when you feel happy and important in a team versus in a different team where you don't feel the same way. You're still the same player. You still have the same skills and abilities, but just because you're not in the right mind state, your performance could be completely different. Also says, hello, Mo. I'm excited to see La Masia breakthrough into the senior team. Imagine coming in and score within 23 seconds. The game, no Lewandowski, no problem. Well, we still have a problem with Lewandowski not being there. But yes, I agree. Absolutely amazing. He comes in, debut, score, first touch, scores right away. Great night for Marc Guiu. And hopefully we'll see him more with the first team. All right, guys, I think that is it for today. Thank you for joining, for watching, for commenting, for subscribing. Again, I will be making the news video in a few hours. I'll be uploading it pretty soon. So I won't say goodnight yet, but I will see you in tonight's video. So, Visca Barça.